Hello everyone. So hopefully this works out. I figured I'd give it a shot. Somebody was crying and I figured I'd take him out for a walk, and he's enjoying that, and I'm getting some fresh air and I'm enjoying that, and it's nice and shady out here, so I don't have to worry about sunburn, although I do have to worry about cleaning out my carport very soon. Wanted to tell you guys about some thoughts I was having. Hopefully I can keep them organized, because it's kind of difficult to keep your thoughts organized with a newborn. I don't know if that's just postpartum, like mom brain, or any of that stuff, but keeping my head organized is always a challenge. I was thinking about the goos that I put on my face. It's just such a cultural thing, and when I was younger, as an exotic dancer, there were so many dancers who were putting weird goo on their face, like this oil, this stuff, that stuff. And I was always kind of proud that I never did any of that. I was like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. I'm like 23. And then, now I'm 37. And just recently, I don't know, maybe at the age of like 35, 36, probably more like 36, it occurred to me that I am going to continue aging. And that's okay. I will get older and older and older. I have been noticing fine lines. You can kind of see the wrinkles here. People get older. And I had a few moments where I felt kind of unattractive and kind of old and kind of ugly. And I thought to myself, well, that's okay. This happens to everyone. But it's not a pleasant feeling. And I think there will come a time when I'm going to be quite old and wrinkly, because everybody, if you live long enough, gets old and wrinkly. And I would think I would very much rather be old and wrinkly after having worn all the goos and put on all the creams and all that stuff, and feel somewhat certain that I had done everything that I could to prevent that old wrinkly stage, or at least hold it off for as long as possible, than to be old and wrinkly looking in a mirror and going, I don't feel as attractive as I used to be. I wonder what would have happened if I had put on all those goos and creams and oils and things. Like, what would I have looked like? Now I've been doing it on a significant budget. Like, it is not like I've been buying top of the line stuff. In order to get hyaluronic acid, I've just been using cucumbers, because cucumbers have hyaluronic acid. I'm not trying to find the perfect serum to prevent aging. I don't think there is a perfect serum to prevent aging. But, doing something, just being proactive about it. I don't know how much of a visual difference it's going to make, and I don't think you're actually going to be able to tell. But I will know that I put in the effort to stave off the aging process for as long as I reasonably could. I did something. At least I did something, And I won't be able to look back and say, oh, I regret not doing anything. I did something. I didn't buy the $250 bottle of whatever it was, but, I did something. I wasn't entirely lazy about it. And so, I wash my face with pureed cucumber and, do all sorts of crazy little things. Just little things. I wear sunscreen. Dermatologists almost universally seem to agree that sunscreen is one of the best things you can do to prevent aging. And so, I wear my sunscreen. I'm trying to get the kids to wear their sunscreens. It's not something that I was necessarily raised with, because I lived in a frozen wasteland, but, it's something that's apparently is really good for you, so I'm trying to get my kids to do it. And I'm trying to get me to do it. And I was thinking about how it doesn't necessarily even matter what the outcome of all that is. It matters that I don't look back on my choices with a sense of regret. And I realize that of all the things in the world that I can go through and experience, regret is the one thing that I don't like to deal with personally at all. And I have tried very hard to live my life in such a way that I have as few regrets as possible. And I've still had regrets about my life from time to time. And it's always one of the worst feelings Like, I've had bad things happen to me. I've had plenty of bad things happen to me, and they're not fun, and I don't like them. But it's much more a situation where I'm like, oh, this terrible, crappy thing is happening to me. Well, I better go deal with it. Versus, I regret this terrible, crappy thing that I'm dealing with right now. I regret not doing this to avoid this terrible, crappy thing, or not doing that over there to avoid this terrible, crappy thing. And then I was thinking about, maybe I should talk about that in the video, and then I realized that there was another thing I should talk about in the video, and that's the fact that it's not just the things you regret doing, it's the things that you regret not doing. Because, you know, there's a lot of things that I've done that have been very, very crazy in my life, and I'm sure a lot of people think I'm just absolutely batshit insane, which is funny to me. Very funny. Eccentric, yes. ADHD, oh my god, I can't hold on to a thought to save my soul. Insane? No, actually, I think I'm moderately mentally healthy, especially compared to the general population. Especially right now. There was a while there where things were not good. But no, I think I'm okay. I think that the reason I've made so many crazy decisions in my life is because I've contemplated the possibility that I might regret not making those decisions. You know? I don't want to be old and look back on my life and say, you know, I wonder what would have happened if I had started that YouTube channel. You know? Would it go anywhere? Probably not, but it would have been fun, you know? It would have been interesting to see what it's like. It would have been an experience. It's like, well, you know, I wouldn't want to miss out on that. I agreed to have this baby with my husband. Like, he asked me, do you want a 5th kid? And I was like, you know, I hate being pregnant, but would I look back at the age of 70 while I'm having a family reunion with all my children and find myself wondering what would have happened if we'd had one more baby? Now I don't have to wonder, I know. I'm going to go through that life path because I made that choice. That pregnancy was miserable. But I went through the whole process going, well, at least I won't look back and regret not having a 5th kid. Becoming an exotic dancer. Crazy, crazy decision. Absolutely insane. Who does that, yeah? But I remember sitting outside the very first club that I ever applied to for a job. I remember I waited until my 21st birthday because that's when I was legally able to go in. And I remember wanting to run away because I was scared. I was very scared, and all I wanted to do was run away. It was like, I'm terrified of this. Switching hands here. I remember sitting there looking at the doors of the club and saying to myself, you know, if you don't do this right now, you will find reasons not to ever do this. And then, years down the road, you will ask yourself, I wonder what would have happened if I had had the courage to actually follow through with it. I'm not saying that people should make stupid decisions or bad decisions because, you know, YOLO. But I am saying that this particular thing was a thing that I very much wanted. And I had already logicked through it quite a bit. I'd already reasoned through it quite a bit. I thought about it for years. Well, I waited to become 21 because, you know, stupid laws. And all I found myself doing was finding more and more reasons that I should go and become an exotic dancer. And so when I got to that point, and I was terrified, I knew the only thing that was holding me back, the only reason I had not to go into that club and ask for a job, was fear. And if I didn't follow through, if I didn't actually go in, I would know at some point later in my life that the only thing that had stopped me was fear. There was no other good, logical, reasonable exception. You know, I didn't have anything else left in my life. My life was horrible and miserable and falling apart. I didn't have any other good opportunities waiting for me. I didn't have any other good places that I could go. All I really had left was this crazy shot in the dark, and I took it, even though I was scared. Because the idea that if I didn't take it, I would horribly regret it for the rest of my life. That was enough to make me get out of the car and walk through those front doors. But every once in a while you find something that you really should be doing, and you know you really should be doing it, and you're just a little bit too scared. And I have those things even to this day. Usually they're small, and usually they're very spontaneous, and I don't have a chance to really think them through too well. And then I'm like, oh, well, I was too scared to do that, so I didn't. The regret of not doing something that you know you should have done, as much as possible, I try to avoid it. I mean, each person makes their own choices, but for me, I find very often that I would rather do something crazy and outlandish and unconventional. And you can't really avoid regrets. At some point they happen, but I try to live my life with as few regrets as I possibly can. Just food for thought, I guess. Anyway, I hope you're all well, and I'll talk to you guys later.